Hello YouTube, wanted to show a little project I did here on this Troy Bilt Flex with the snowblower attachment. I picked up this unit earlier this year, and one of the things that I noticed that I didn't really like about it was that on the snowblower chute you have to reach down and manually spin the chute as you're using the snowblower. And in my driveway I have to crank that around a lot to make all the maneuvers that I need to do. So my previous snowblower was also a Troy Bilt 26 inch. It was an older unit, probably about 15 years old. And as most people know, these are all made by MTD, so Cub Cadet, Craftsman, they're all basically the same. But when I was looking at the older unit compared to this one, basically this whole front housing was exactly the same, and the chute assembly was very similar as well. So I did some measurements and kind of swap parts around to see if I can make this thing a remote control crank assembly, and sure enough those parts all fit from the old one to the new one. So I ended up going to a small engine shop where they had a kind of a salvage yard of old snowblowers, and I found a similar snowblower model as the old one that I had, and I was able to get this entire chute assembly as well as the crank handle from that one, so I could retrofit it onto this one. And it's actually a very simple process. All that attaches these assemblies are just these two bolts here and the two bolts here on the other side, and there they are on the machine. They're exactly in the same position. Nothing's different. There's the two on this side. So you can literally just unbolt that assembly and bolt this one on. You do have to use most of the pieces from this assembly. I think the only things that are common between the two is this upper chute piece and the bolts, but this whole assembly here and this bottom piece and the bracket, that's all different. So you'll need to get that whole assembly. So in order to make the crank work, clips on right here, no big deal. The problem is that the crank handle rod is going to be too short because this whole assembly is longer than the regular snowblower type units. So all I had to do was I cut it, and then I sectioned in a piece about 13 or 13 and a half inches long and just extended the handle up there. To do that, it's actually very simple. You can go to the local hardware store, home improvement type stores, and they sell these 1/2 inch OD, 3/8 ID sleeves in the hardware section. You can buy like a 2 foot or 4 foot section, I think, of it. And this is a 3/8 rod. So all I used was just a piece of this to sleeve it on here, added in this new section, and sleeve it here. And you could even do it simpler. You could just use this whole piece to make the whole extension versus what I did, which I just splice in another piece of 3/8 rod. So I extended that up. The donor snowblower also came with the little mounting eyelet here. So all I had to do was cut a piece of flat steel. Got a piece of flat steel here that picked up these two bolt holes that were from the original snowblower handlebar here, and just put the wing nut on here to secure that. So very simple. You don't have to drill any holes in the snowblower, no modifications necessary whatsoever. It's a very simple process. The one thing you do have to be aware of is I've got the handlebars set at the height that I work at the machine at, which happens to be all the way in the top position. If you do adjust the handlebars down, this will hit. So you may have to adjust, make a different bracket here accordingly to get this height at the position that you want. And the other thing that you want to note too is I wanted to have that chute pointing straight forward when the handle is resting in this down position. Otherwise I didn't want to have it partially cockeyed, right? want to be able to blow straight forward. So before you weld it or pin it back together, you want to make sure you've got the orientation right with that chute. But other than that, I think that's going to work really well. Let's see here, I can turn it remotely. Very simple, like the older ones used to be. And it should work really well. To take it apart, obviously we got to take this handle off, but literally there's no tools required. You pull the clip here, undo the wing nut here, take this rod off, and then you can dismount the snowblower. So it makes it very simple. So I want to share this with anybody else that has one of these units. It might be a upgrade that you may want to consider. I think this is going to work out really well for the winter time. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.